Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first Opening the Gate session. Well done for coming along and giving up your Monday nights tonight. I very much think it will be worthwhile, but I'll let you be the judge of that by the end of it. So welcome to the first Opening the Gate session. This is a really exciting new partnership between Aldi and PCF, the Prince's Countryside Fund, all about supporting young people and new entrants to get involved in agriculture, to share with you knowledge, experience, advice, and opportunities available to you how to get involved in the agricultural industry. For those of you who've come from farms all of your life, and those of you who have had nothing to do with agriculture, there are so many opportunities for you. And this is an exciting partnership to help you along the way. This is our first virtual workshop. There will be at least another 2 to come with further plans for the future. But also, it's not just these workshops, there's loads of online resources, which you'll hear about later, to support you too. Firstly, I'll give an introduction. I'm delighted to have been asked to chair this session. My name's Ed Dungate. I'm 30. I'm an arable tenant farmer from Northumberland in partnership with my mum and dad, who I think we're 5th or 6th generation farmers, so it's been in the family for a while. In my school years, many people tried to persuade me to do other jobs in agriculture, veterinary, engineering, other more academic topics, and it really annoyed me that a lot of them seem to be doubting the agricultural industry. But I realised farming is what I love doing, but as well as that, agriculture is a really exciting and forward-thinking industry, and there is so much change happening at the minute, and so many opportunities for all sorts of things in terms of science, research, marketing, sales, whatever it is you're interested in. There's opportunities in the agricultural industry. So I chose to go to Harper Adams. I did a degree in agriculture with crop management. I'm so glad I did. I learned a hell of a lot about agriculture and about life. And since then, I've been fortunate to come back to the family farm in Northumberland, and I'm helping to progress things and make our business fit for the future. I'm also the chairman of the National Federation of Young Farmers Clubs. YFC is a brilliant organisation, so I'd encourage all of you to join your local club if you haven't already, but that's not what tonight's all about. So we have a load of really exciting speakers who have given up their time tonight, and I'm sure we're going to learn a hell of a lot from them. And I will introduce them to you as we go along. All participants watching tonight, it's interactive, so any questions that you have, please submit your questions through the anonymous question box on the Zoom function. Hopefully, that should be working for you all, and we'll choose some of your questions later on to answer. Hopefully we'll all have our microphones on mute when we're not talking. And we should have time to cover your questions. There will, for all participants who've joined tonight, there will be a winner of a £50 Aldi voucher. You'll be contacted after the meeting we haven't decided exactly what for yet, but just the greatest contribution or question that you come up with for us. So that is the housekeeping done. We're going to start now with a very quick poll for you all to get involved in, which you should be able to see now. Current knowledge on this topic. What are my favourite routes into the industry? Different routes, sorry. If everyone can click their choice. Bit of a variation of knowledge there. Right, so we do have a big variation. Thankfully, nobody has no knowledge, so you all know a little bit, but definitely plenty room for improvement, and that's why we're here. So hopefully by the end of the meeting, you might all feel a little bit more prepared and know a bit more about the options available to you. Okay, we shall now move on to our first of our real life case studies. He'll have 5 minutes. So firstly, I'd like to welcome Liz Tree. Liz comes from South London, had no prior connections to farming whatsoever, but she completed a degree in agriculture at Harper Adams and is now doing a master's in ag education. So I'd like to hand over to Liz.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So yeah, as has already been said, I grew up in a very non-farming background. I grew up in Croydon, which is South London. So it's about as urban as it gets, really, with no family connection to the industry, no real friend connection to the industry either. And I first got interested in agriculture and farming by chance, really. I was on holiday with my family in Wales in the Brecon Beacons. And ended up just, being a bit bored, being a city kid on holiday in the countryside, not really knowing what's going on. And it was Easter time, so the local farmer happened to be lambing. So I went down to the farm, had a little nosy around, saw what it was all about, asked if I could get involved, and he was really accommodating. And he really encouraged me to, take my first steps into agriculture. So, given my background, my school weren't overly convinced that agriculture would be the right thing for me, but I pushed and I pushed hard. So I found myself at Harper Adams, which, I've just finished my BSc in agriculture, and I've had an absolutely great time. So yeah, that's how my farming journey all started, really. So my first experience was on that sheep farm in Wales, lambing, and now I go back every year since. I've got a really good working relationship with the farmer there. And built up a really nice network. I managed to find another farmer reasonably close to where I was living in South London at the time. And he was really helpful and accommodating as well. And it was him that actually put me on track to Harper in the first place, because he had studied at Harper. And he, taught me the basics. He was an arable farmer, so he taught me how to drive a tractor, and I used to do bits and pieces around the farm for him. Then I went off to uni, and in terms of gaining experience from that point, most of the knowledge I gained, a lot of it was just from other friends at uni. I had my first summer job working with fresh produce, and I found that job through a friend at uni. It was one of my flatmates. So a lot of the experience I've had since then is just through networking and through friends, really. And then as part of my degree at Harper, because it's a sandwich course, you do a placement year. So I spent my placement year working for Avara Foods. So I was working with poultry. So that was my first experience with poultry. And that was an absolutely great experience. I've still got a lot of friends from there and built up some really good, strong networks from there as well. In terms of what I want to do in the future, to be honest, I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm currently studying for a Master of Research in agricultural education. And I never saw myself doing postgrad things, but this is where I found myself, and I'm absolutely loving it, really enjoying it. So I'm quite open-minded in terms of what my next step is for the future, because I never really saw myself being here at this point. But yeah, I'm really loving it. And what do I wish I knew when I was sort of, school leaving age and trying to get my first experiences in agriculture? I guess I wish I understood quite how broad agriculture as an industry is. I went into it thinking, I want to be a farmer or a farm manager. I was quite sort of set in terms of where I thought I wanted to go next. And since going to uni and chatting with people in the industry, I've realized that there are so many different opportunities, different routes you can go down, if that's, farm manager, or, a feed merchant, or a geneticist, or an agronomist, or into marketing, or, there's so many different routes that you can go down. So I guess I wish I'd sort of appreciated that when I was first considering going to university to study agriculture. I think it probably would have helped get my parents and my school teachers on side a little bit more, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's me. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next, but I've really enjoyed my time at Harper, doing my degree in agriculture and now my master's in agricultural education.
Thanks very much, Liz. I totally agree with you that so many people don't appreciate how wide a spectrum agriculture really is, and all of the you may think you're learning how to be a farmer, but there are so many different options of all sorts, in different paths that you can be led down, which you obviously have. I'd now like to welcome Ernie Richards, a first-generation sheep farmer from Herefordshire. I first met Ernie when he was county chairman of Herefordshire Young Farmers, and he's also been involved in the NFU Next Gen scheme. So I'd like to welcome Ernie.
Thank you, Ed. Well, good evening, everybody. So as Ed kind of said, I'm Ernie Richards, and I class myself as a first-generation shepherd. So my parents don't actively farm, but my grandparents have got a small holding. So like Liz, I had a bit of a background in agriculture, which sparked my interest. Every opportunity I could, whilst at school, at weekends and at summer holidays, I'd be helping my grandparents out on their small sheep farm. So it was the career choice for me. Agriculture was something I always wanted to pursue in. And so once leaving school, I went to agricultural college and near Hereford, which was really good. That gave me a good sound base. But what it did, though, was it enabled me to gain a lot of qualifications and especially competence, certificates of competence for operating a lot of machinery. So whilst working on farm, health and safety is paramount. So, you know, I'd done a lot of courses to enable me to operate quad bike safely, chainsaw, telehandler, things like that, which enabled me to get practical experience on farm. So whilst at college, I managed to get a job locally, and that is where I gained a lot of practical skills. And that's when I decided to pursue my career then further, and I decided to go to Aberystwyth University to study agriculture with animal science. Whilst there, like everybody at university, it's a good chance to meet a lot of different people from all walks of life, and I think gaining skills, life skills, university really opens a lot of doors for that. It teaches you how to look after yourself in some way as well. And what university did then, it gives you the theory behind the practical side. It gives you the reason why you're doing certain things. Whilst at uni, I did a sandwich year out. So I was fortunate. I went to a farm in Cumbria for 9 months, and I went to a sheep farm in Canada. And so trying to see the world and use opportunities there to experience what other agriculture is outside of the UK. Come now to 7 years later, after graduating, I am now a shepherd on a farm near Hay and Wye. I help look after a flock of 1,000 pedigree clean ewes. And the situation I'm in is my boss is nearly, retirement age. His sons aren't interested in agriculture, so I'm looking at what to do next. And so the responsibility of me taking on potentially his business, his farm, but along with him is what we're stepping into now. And one thing, like Ed mentioned, I'm involved with the NFU, but also I've done a lot with young farmers. And I think my biggest thing is trying to gain as much as I possibly can for personal development. So young farmers has been a massive thing of that. Every opportunity I did, every competition I could, and things like public speaking, right through to cookery. It's all these different things you can be involved with. And young farmers, I just think it's a brilliant organisation. If you're unsure about what the countryside is, get involved with young farmers. But what I've done is I try and get myself involved in organisations to find new skills, develop myself, and try and meet new like-minded people. I think people in agriculture, it's a massive industry, but it's surprising who you sort of bump into along the way. I always think it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. In agriculture, you can definitely meet a lot of like-minded individuals. So yeah, I've been involved with the NSA, the National Sheep Association, an ambassador for them. I'm on the current next generation group for the NFU Cymru, because we're just in Wales here, and I've done this. There's a scheme through Wales, the Welsh Government, called Farming Connect, which does do a lot of personal development. So I've done Agri Academy, which is a personal development group, which has been brilliant. But my key things I would say to anybody would be to always ask questions, because if you don't know something, if you don't know it. So, and don't be afraid. If you think it might be silly, it doesn't matter. And everyone makes mistakes as well. So if you make a silly mistake, you'll always learn a lesson. So they're my two key points, really. And I think, yes, like Liz is saying, you don't have to be just a farmer's working in agriculture. There is a variety of different careers you can go into. But I think it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. So no, thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. I think you're a prime example of someone who takes every opportunity available to them. And some great top tips there. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, ask questions, because often that's what holds people back, and they don't learn because they're sort of too scared to take that step and ask for help.
Yeah,
go
definitely.
Back to Liz, do you have one final top tip from your experience of what you could give?
You put me on the spot here. One final top tip. Just take every opportunity you can, really. Talk to anyone you can. Networking is so key. As Ernie's already said, it's not necessarily what you know, it's also who you know. And yeah, you never know the links that you might have with people. Get chatting with people. They might have a family member that it could be useful to you, for example. You never know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to some expert advice. Not that you two weren't experts, but moving on, I will introduce Saffy Waterson, who joined MDS in May 2005, and is going to talk to us all about apprenticeships. Saffy is incredibly experienced in many roles outside of agriculture, including a good stint as working with the National Probation Service and as a social work support officer for the RAF. So I'd like to hear from Saffy what an apprenticeship scheme can offer you.
It's always one that forgets to unmute. It's usually me. So what can an apprenticeship scheme offer? Well, one of the benefits to start with is obviously there's no tuition fees. And that might be a benefit for people that have the ability to go to university, for example, but maybe for whatever reason, that's not an opportunity for them. So there's no tuition fees. In fact, you can earn while you train, which is fantastic. But apprenticeships are not just for people that haven't taken the normal academic route. You can still do an apprenticeship, even if you've been to university, and you can do as postgrad. The beauty of apprenticeships really is that they fit all. And that's the thing to keep in mind. The one thing that you get from doing an apprenticeship is obviously you get lots of experience. And one of the challenges you have when you've done a more traditional academic route is that you have all of this theoretical knowledge, but you might not have had a lot of opportunity to put that into practice. And that is really where MDS was born. So I can tell you about my experience of MDS and the apprenticeship program. And I think it's just a very typical apprenticeship route. So it will make sense for whatever route you decide to go down. And MDS was born really because three very forward-thinking farmers recognised we get people out of university, they've got all of this academic knowledge, but they haven't had a lot of opportunity to put it into practice. And this is usually from universities where they haven't had the opportunity to do a placement year. I know at Harper, for example, most of the people get that placement year opportunity. So they're coming out of university, they haven't got all of this experience, so why don't we all work together, join a membership, make a membership and employ people and give them experience. Really unique concept, because these are competitors in a commercial sense, all wanting to work together to train people and give them experience. So MDS recruited at the time graduates, now it recruits anybody. And now we take all disciplines, so it doesn't matter if you've had an agricultural background, because the beauty of apprenticeships is you get all of that experience. They recruit them, put them into 4 of these businesses, so over a 2-year period you would work for 4 very different businesses doing a completely different role. Think about what Liz just said. She thought she was going to be a farm manager or she was going to be a farmer. Actually now thinking, I don't know, because I've recognised that there's lots of opportunities. Well, doing an apprenticeship like this shows you those opportunities, really gives you hands-on experience. Going to 4 businesses, 4 very different roles, each 6 months move, and alongside that you get the off-the-job training. And I'm whizzing through this because we've got very short time to tell you this, but then comes the apprenticeship levy. So MDS thought, we are already a model for apprenticeships. Just change the off-the-job training that we were already offering and make that, give that to an apprenticeship training provider. And then this becomes a really sound apprenticeship model. At the end of the 2 years, the apprentices get the qualification, where accredited by CMI. Other apprenticeships will obviously give you whatever qualifications you're working towards. So you're getting your opportunity to apply that knowledge in practice. You're being assessed, you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, you know the sector within the industry that you want to make your career, and you also know what you don't want to do. And that's just as important, because if you take a job and then you find out it's not right for you, you've really got to stay there a little while before you can move without making your CV look awful. Do an apprenticeship like this, you can move around, you can get all of that experience, your CV looks fantastic, and you also know where you're not so good, what you know, the areas maybe that you want to avoid and where you excel. So a year on, we've now been granted flexi apprenticeship status, and this is the real benefit, I think, of a scheme like MDS. And I think there are 9 flexi apprenticeship agencies in the UK, and that means that you don't have to do all of your apprenticeship with one business. So exactly the model, we didn't change. We thought about this 36 years ago, and it's now just become a flexi apprenticeship. But if you do a flexi apprenticeship, it means you go to lots of different businesses. Finding the company culture that suits you is just as important as finding the sector in the industry that you want to work in, because you need to know where you fit. Do you want to work in a blue chip company? Do you want to be with a retailer doing a commercial role? Or do you really want to be in the fields and being much more hands-on? Do you want to be doing trials? You know, who knows? But get as much experience in as many different sectors as possible, and get as much experience in different companies as possible. So I want to tell you now just how to apply. So when you apply for an apprenticeship, you can expect to do a paper application. You can expect to have a telephone interview and then go through an assessment centre. And when you're completing all of that, really think about what is it that's going to make me stand out? Because, you know, lots of people, it doesn't matter about experience, it doesn't matter what discipline you come with, because if you show your ability and your potential, you'll be given the opportunity. But you've got to really go committed. You've got to go to your assessment thinking, I've researched this business, I know what I'm applying for. I might not have experience, but I really understand the challenges. I understand it's perishable goods, it's fast moving, the challenges that other industries maybe don't have, you know, the weather, price, all importing, you know, we can't grow everything in the UK ourselves. You know, there's all sorts of issues that you might take with you just as a bit of knowledge. So do some Googling, go on the websites, make sure that you've understood the business that you're applying to. And think about what can you sell? So have you got the soft skills? Have you got resilience? And if you don't say, I've got resilience, because we can all say that, give an example of how you can demonstrate that. Say, you know, I got given responsibility, and I was given this responsibility because, and this was the result. If I could go back and do something differently, this is what I would change. Really think about how you can sell all of the soft skills that we need to know you've got, so that you will be able to succeed in the apprenticeship. We'll give you all the work experience, all of the support. The amount of support you get in an apprenticeship is outstanding. At MDS, you'd get development, somebody from the development team, you get a skills coach from the training provider, you would get a secondment manager on your placement, and you'd also get your peer support from your cohort. So think about, how am I going to stand out? What is different about me? Why should they give me this opportunity? If you've got any questions, I'd be very happy to answer, because that's a very snapshot view of what it's like to get into an apprenticeship.
Brilliant. Thank you, Saffy, for telling us so much in a short space of time, all about apprenticeships. We shall now move on to Fiona Dale. Fiona was brought up on a dairy farm, did a degree in agri-food marketing, and has since traded soft fruit and vegetables. She's bought pharmaceuticals for veterinary companies. She's worked for Pfizer Limited, but now she's back dairy farming. They have a 50-point rotary poller, 2 robotic arms, cow selection gate, automatic flush hoof bath, herd vision camera. Animal welfare is a top priority. I think I would quite like to be a cow on Fiona's farm. And they have young people working on their farm on apprenticeships and work university placements. So we're looking forward to hearing what Fiona has to say about work experience placements and how they work for her.
Okay, well, good evening to you all, firstly. Each one of you listening to this webinar is listening because you believe that agriculture is a great place to be. The industry is adapting to current changes such as rising costs and labour shortages, which makes it even more exciting because the solutions include technology, advances and innovations, and there is a push to help you with your pathway into agriculture as well. Farming needs and wants young people, keen people like you, and therefore farmers will generally adapt work experience positions on farm to meet each one of your needs, as well as meeting the farm business needs as well. And I would like to share with you 4 examples of work experience that we've offered in the last few years on our farm, starting with Thomas. So Thomas asked to come on the farm for just 1 week in September after finishing his A-levels. He was taking a gap year and he couldn't decide what to study after university. So he had a week with us on farm, and after just 1 week, he decided to study agriculture at Harper Adams University. So that's where he's applied to. The second example is Ollie, who was with us for 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days were spent at a local agricultural college doing an NVQ in level 2 for 2 days a week, and he stayed with us for 2 years, which was really good. And then Harry's our third example. He's a local lad who just turned up, could he come and help us? So we set him off milking the cows to begin with when he was 16, and we helped to train him and explained why we did the things we do on the farm. And now he's progressed to feeding the cows using a feed ration plan, calf rearing. He's got a keen interest in machinery, which we've accommodated. So he does maintenance, parlour maintenance, and he's really chuffed this summer because he's now driving the Pottinger forage wagon, which he absolutely loves at silaging time. And then another example is Louis, who's currently working on the farm doing a 12-month placement from Harper Adams as part of his foundation degree. And he was also awarded a scholarship to be on our farm as well. So that's really going to help him with his funding over university. And these are just 4 examples of work experience, and it demonstrates that everyone is different, their needs are different, and farmers will generally adapt to each individual case. Our placements range, as you've heard, from 1 week and hopefully a lifelong career with Harry. Hopefully. We have 3 people currently on the farm who've worked for the business for 30 years each. So it's a good place to be. People don't tend to leave normally. But it's really up to you what you need, how many hours, the positions you want to take, areas of experience on the farm which you wish to gain. And you need to really think about that and communicate it to the farmer and come up with a plan. Being assertive in what you want really helps a busy farmer who's juggling lots of balls. They want to help you, generally speaking. So how do you get work experience on a farm? Well, identify a farming system that really interests you, and then contact a local farmer with the same system and offer to help. Be enthusiastic, confident, interested, ask lots of questions, take a parent or guardian with you initially if that helps. and attributes to think about that will really help you stand out when you're gaining your farm work experience is having a can-do attitude is really important. Good timekeeping, being punctual is a really key discipline. Like Saffy says, read around the farm, find out a bit about it, take interest in the farm and the business, ask questions, as Ernie was saying, demonstrates a really good willingness to learn. Being a team player, not only do you get on and have a productive day, but it can also be lots of fun with banter as well. Attention to detail is key to anything. I mean, getting things done properly will help you to be successful. And these are key drivers to help you do more. The more you can do, the more you will be able to do, and that's successful work experience. My advice to you is similar to what Saffy was saying. The more work experience you gain in different types of businesses and industries, and even Ernie, in different countries, the better, because these skills that you've learned are transferable. The memories you have, the experiences that you're going to gain, they're going to establish you as a person, and you'll then be able to decide which jobs and part of jobs you enjoy, which ones you don't enjoy, and it will make it easier for you to make career decisions in the future. And also you'll have a few interesting stories to tell along the way as well. Thank you very much, and move back over to Ed.
Brilliant, thank you, Fiona. I think you've shown really well what opportunities are available in work placements. Have a can-do attitude, be a team player, and the opportunities are endless really, and you'll have a good time in the meantime. So finally, I'll pass over to Laura Harper, who works in applications and recruitment at Harper Adams, and Dr. Russell Readman, who is head of agriculture, who I remember very well as my very scary head of course when I was there in 2010 to 14. But he obviously did a good job because I came out with a degree. So I'll now hand over to Laura and Russell.
Okay, so very briefly, around the application process for agriculture courses, research is the key. Obviously, a lot of the speakers that you've already heard from have kind of alluded that it's important to have a look around, make sure, explore the options are available. Harper Adams, we offer several open days a year for you to come along, see the campus. All universities and colleges offer virtual or in-person open days and campus tours, and it's really important that you go along and learn about the different facilities, the different courses, get a feel for each institution and the different campuses, and ask as many questions as you can, whether you ask them of academic staff, of admissions staff, former students. There's a lot of people available that can answer your questions. When you make a UCAS application, you've got 5 choices, so it's important that if you want to keep your options open, to make use of all those 5 choices. Obviously, if you've got your heart set on a particular institution or type of course, then you can apply. You can apply for more than one at the same place. The UCAS cycle opens in mid-September, and what we call the equal consideration deadline is the last Wednesday in January. Institutions don't have to consider your application after that deadline date. So we always recommend that you apply as early as you can in the cycle. It just means that you've got a little bit of peace of mind as the deadline approaches. If you are making late decisions, the application cycle doesn't actually close until June. So you have got time to make your decision. Here at Harper Adams, the admissions team primarily deal with the applications and make decisions. Obviously, anybody that has the query, we refer them to the course manager for further consideration. And if you're lucky, you might get an interview with Russell. So now I'll pass you over to Russell so he can tell you more about applications.
Good evening, everybody. So in terms of your application, What makes an applicant stand out? What am I looking for? Well, your opportunity to sell yourself is through your personal statement in your UCAS application, and first impressions count. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So your personal statement needs to clearly demonstrate your motivation and commitment to study agriculture, how well you've researched the course, and the personal skills and attributes that you feel that you've got that are important to succeed on that course. To me, a standout applicant is someone who can demonstrate why they want to study agriculture and where their interest and motivation stems from. This could be from your experience on farm or your general interest in sustainable food production, the environment, and the challenge of feeding a growing population. Someone who can demonstrate understanding of the course and clearly identify why they want to study that course in relation to the course content and other facilities that the university may have. Someone who's got clear career aspirations and can link these to the course that they're applying for and how that course will help them achieve those career aspirations. Do your homework, research the course, and explain how the specific aspects of that course that you're applying for will help you achieve your career goals. Also, someone who's studied the relevant level 3 subjects and is able to link their A-level or diploma subjects to the course that they're applying for. Remember, agriculture is applied science, farm business management, marketing, and technology. And in addition to the wider study skills that you've gained from those qualifications or your current studies, then how will they also help you achieve success through your university studies? Someone who can demonstrate relevant hobbies and interests. We've already heard Young Farmers Club, for example, and has held positions of responsibility as part of those hobbies, and what skills you've gained from those positions of responsibility. And someone who's got relevant practical experience, or if not, and I appreciate everybody can't get it, what attempts have you made to gain practical experience? You've just heard from Fiona that a number of people have gone up the farm drive and asked for a position on farm. You don't have to come from a farm background or have practical farm experience to study agriculture, but you've got to make a compelling case why you want to study in that area. If you don't have on-farm experience, what can you do instead? Not all courses require previous experience. Undertaking a BTEC extended diploma in agriculture rather than traditional A-levels will allow you to gain practical experience through practical farm sessions as part of those BTEC courses, but that shouldn't be your overriding factor in deciding which level 3 qualifications to do. If you can't get practical farm experience, consider getting experience in the allied industries that serve agriculture. Things like grain sampling, grain laboratory work, soil sampling. Several large agronomy companies offer these roles as vacation jobs. That demonstrates your interest and commitment to the sector. How else can you demonstrate that? Well, reading the farming press, keeping up to date with current issues facing the industry, undertaking an EPQ extended project qualification in a topic that's related to agriculture, and bringing these out in your personal statement is a good way of demonstrating your interest in ag. If you don't have relevant work experience and can make a convincing case why you want to study agriculture, then Harper offers an Access to Agriculture program. This program is studied alongside your first year studies and is designed to help those applicants who don't have the contacts or access to farms to gain relevant practical experience in their first year of study. In terms of funding opportunities for people from non-traditional farming background, specific funding opportunities are very limited for those from non-farming backgrounds. The CLA, Country Land and Business Association, though, specifically fund students from backgrounds that are traditionally underrepresented in the rural economy to encourage new entrants to the industry. But several scholarships where 2 candidates are of equal merit will give preference to those from non-traditional backgrounds. Fiona's mentioned that they offer a scholarship there at Dale Farming. And I would say, from my experience of scholarship interviews and shortlisting, a candidate from a non-traditional background that doesn't come from a family farm stands out, and some companies favour those applicants. The Velcourt Farming Scholarship, for example, we're looking to recruit people who won't necessarily return to the home farm, but will go on to work for Velcourt. But it obviously does rely on you having gained the relevant practical experience alongside your studies in the early stages of your course before applying to those scholarships. Finally, I'd say if you don't come from a farming background, don't worry in terms of being at a disadvantage. Really, to echo what a number of points that Fiona made, as long as you're interested, enthusiastic and prepared to learn, then you won't necessarily struggle. Agriculture courses don't assume prior ag knowledge. The first year always includes modules in basic animal and crop production systems. You may find that others are more familiar with some of the terms used, but you'll soon pick that up, so don't worry about that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Laura and Russell, for a comprehensive description of the options available at Harper. Just one question now. We're going to go back to Ernie, please, which we've had a question. How did you learn about and get involved in scheme things like Agri Academy and NFU Next Gen?
So to be fair, I think a lot of it is I've heard a lot of these things through friends, through young farmers, but also I think social media has come on quite a lot now in the last 10 years particularly, and a lot of these programs have been advertised through that. But I always find though is once you get your sort of foot in the door, then like everybody said here, it's all about that first attempt. So whether or not it's maybe you go on a farm, for example, to get some work experience, and that farmer particularly might be involved in maybe the NSA or the NFU, and then they help you maybe go to a meeting or something. But a lot of these programs that run are easily available through social media to have a look at, but it's a case of just having a look and see what you can do. And there's so many opportunities there, and I think it's all really important. Like Russell said, if you're doing a cover letter for university or applying for a job, like we've all said, it is adding to your CV all the time. These personal skills are really, really important. So yeah, just have a look, just keep searching for things, Google things, and things are there.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Ernie. So we need to wrap up, so we don't take up too much more of all your evenings. But I'd like to thank all of our speakers so much for their contributions tonight. You will have a final poll up on the screen now. If everyone can just fill that in again, please. I'd remind all of you that it's not just about these workshops. There are so many resources available on the PCF website. So please look on the Princess Countryside Fund website. Any additional questions you had will be shared with our speakers by email, and we can get back to you. Finally, my top tip for getting started in agriculture is get away from the farm you live on, if you're from a farming background, and if you're not, take up every opportunity to see different systems, different farms, and work with different people. And in terms of education, absolutely get to college and get to university if you can. To me, Harper Adams is the greatest place on earth, and I'd love to go back again. We've heard how great Harper is tonight. There are so many other brilliant colleges and universities available all throughout the country, and it's not just about what you learn on that course, it's about all of the people that you meet and the experience and knowledge that you get from all of them, from your peers, really. So get away from home and take every opportunity. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's good to see you. The poll shows you've got a bit more knowledge than you did when we started, so it's been very worthwhile. Thank you very much to all of our participants, and hopefully we'll see you again next time.